Morocco, the Cinderella story. Every World Cup gives us a dark horse, the wonderful story of a team undermined and unsuspected by football fans across the globe. The team in the shadows of the big names that manages to become a fan favourite by causing upsets and going a lot deeper into the tournament than they might have any right to. This year, undoubtedly, the dark horse was Morocco. In 2018, Croatia managed to sneak their way to the FIFA World Cup final. Despite having quality footballers in their side, Croatia were never considered a contender for the tournament. They made their population of under 4 million people very proud, and rightly so. In 2002, Turkey and co-host South Korea both shocked the world, joining giants Brazil and Germany in the semi-finals. The Koreans even managed to knock out Italy and Spain on the way, albeit controversially. In 1994 in the USA, both Sweden and Bulgaria made it to the semi-finals. The Bulgarians were led by their superstar forward, Hristo Stoichkov, who scored an amazing 6 goals in 7 tournament games. The Swedes actually went on to beat Bulgaria emphatically in the third place playoff. A 4-0 victory saw them shock the world for the second time, as in their home World Cup in 1958 they had managed to go one better as runners-up, losing out only to Pele's Brazil in the final. In 1954, Austria came third as their neighbour Switzerland hosted the tournament. Since then they haven't reached the knockout stages. They haven't even qualified for a major tournament since 1998. Other memorable runs include Poland, who finished third in 1982, and Uruguay for their run to the semi-finals in 2010. Despite being a nation of football heritage with 2 World Cup titles to their name, those trophies came in 1930 and 1950, when the competition looked very different. In the modern game, with a population of under 4 million, Uruguay deserve a mention for their fabulous run in South Africa. Speaking of Africa, there's something missing from our outstanding list of underdog stories. Not until 2022 in Qatar had an African side ever reached the semi-finals of a World Cup. It took 22 World Cups for Morocco to do what nobody else from their great continent had done before, and make it to the last 4 of the most famous competition in world football. After years of colonisation by France, Morocco could not even try and make it to a World Cup as a sovereign nation until 1962, when they failed to qualify. Morocco faced Tunisia in the first round of qualifying, and nothing separated the sides home and away, so they went to Palermo in Italy to face off once again. Yet again they drew, and in those days a coin toss decided who would go through to the next round instead of a penalty shootout. Morocco beat Ghana 1-0 over 2 legs in the next phase to make it to the Intercontinental Playoffs. There they would meet their neighbours to the north, Spain. Morocco lost the tie 4-2 on aggregate, but their journey to a World Cup had begun, and it was only a matter of time before they reached the major finals. Just under a decade later, that dream came true as Morocco made it to the 1970 World Cup in Mexico. They would lose to West Germany and Peru in the group stages, before salvaging a consolation point against Bulgaria in the final group game. This was the first ever point won by an African team at a FIFA World Cup finals. How fitting, therefore, that they are now the first African side to break another barrier in reaching the semi-finals. Qatar was the 6th time Morocco reached the finals. After their debut in Mexico, they only managed to qualify for 3 of the next 11 tournaments. But for the current generation of football fanatics, they will be regarded as a regular after qualifying for the 2018 edition in Russia, as well as this year's fantastic display. Morocco had some more success in the 1986 World Cup. They returned to Mexico and went one better, this time breaking another record in the process, as they became the first African team to make it past the first round of a World Cup finals tournament. They did so in impressive fashion, reaching the round of 16 after topping a group that contained England, Portugal and Poland, only to lose out to eventual finalists West Germany in what was also their only ever knockout World Cup game until just a few weeks ago. African football has produced unbelievable talents like Didier Drogba from the Ivory Coast, Roger Milla and Samuel Eto'o from Cameroon, and George Weah from Liberia. These names and many more have shone on the brightest stages in global football, but Africa has struggled to produce a complete team worthy of stealing the limelight. Only 6 African nations have made it past the first round of the World Cup, and of those, only Senegal, Ghana and Cameroon have gone one step further to make it into the last 8. This history serves as a fascinating context for what Morocco have just achieved. They truly have broken the glass ceiling for Africa. They have thrown down the gauntlet for future African sides to better their run to the last four. And we think naturally it's only a matter of time before records are broken again. Known as the Atlas Lions, Morocco have become heroes at home, in Africa and across the Arab world. They may not have been fancied by anybody before the tournament, but this Morocco side have been growing in confidence for a couple of years now. They qualified for the tournament undefeated and with an impressive record of 7 wins and 1 draw, scoring 25 goals in the process and only conceding 3. To win football matches, you also need to score goals, and Morocco have looked very comfortable at the front end of the pitch. They lure teams in with their rigid defensive block, but are more than capable of exploding on lung-bursting counterattacks. With the quality of Ziyech and the trickery of Boufal, they have the quality to punish open and complacent defending, as we saw in Qatar. In 3 pre-World Cup friendlies this autumn, Morocco failed to concede a goal. They saw off notable opposition by defeating Chile and Georgia 2-0 and 3-0 respectively, and drawing another game, 0-0 with Paraguay. In their first 5 tournament games in Qatar, Morocco continued their exquisite defensive form, conceding just 1 goal. It was an own goal in a victory against Canada, but Belgium and Croatia couldn't break them down in the group. Spain couldn't even score against them in 120 minutes of their last 16 tie. And Portugal, they also failed. In the quarter-final matchup, they netted 6 against Switzerland, but couldn't do so against Morocco. In 2021, Morocco were amongst the favourites for the AFCON title. Morocco have clearly made the most of playing together as a group over the last couple of years. Their playing style in Qatar was one of the most well drilled at the tournament. It was clear that their strategy was well refined and that the group was united, just as it was organised. Moreover, they seemed to play with an abundance of energy that their top European opponents struggled to match. Morocco has a squad spearheaded by some top quality footballers, most notably Achraf Hakimi of Paris Saint-Germain and Hakim Ziyech of Chelsea. But in truth, they have quality throughout. Romain Saiss and Sofiane Boufal have Premier League pedigree, and goalkeeper Bono won the Europa League with Sevilla in 2020. Every World Cup tends to throw up surprises, not only in the form of dark horses, but also in the shape of relatively unknown players that shine bright on the biggest stage when they are handed their opportunity. James Rodriguez's inspired performance for Colombia in 2014 sticks out in memory, when the young playmaker helped the South Americans reach the quarterfinals, only to be knocked out by host Brazil. In the aftermath of the tournament, his reward was a transfer to Real Madrid. Let's hope that this World Cup's post-tournament transfers are the 2 Morocco central midfielders, Azzedine Ounahi and Sofiane Amrabat. These 2 players were the engine room for Morocco this World Cup. Their gutsy performances were matched with relentless running, regimented defending, and cool, calm, collected play on the ball. Amrabat, born in Holland to Moroccan parents, has previously been linked with Liverpool. The Fiorentina midfielder did himself no harm with some dominating performances at this year's World Cup. His midfield partner, Ounahi, also showed his best side in the biggest shop window of them all. In 2021, he was still plying his trade in the French 3rd Division, before moving to Angers in Ligue 1. He has been a regular there for the last 18 months, and at just 22 years of age, his future looks really bright. We cannot talk about this Morocco side without mentioning their manager, Walid Regragui. The young coach was only hired this August, as his predecessor and Hakim Ziyech had clashed to the extent that the Chelsea winger decided to leave the national setup. This prompted a crisis for the federation, and they decided it was best to change leaders and bring their stars back into the frame before the World Cup. Clearly this Morocco side were strong before Regragui took the helm, but since his arrival, their defensive record has been nothing short of spectacular, and was clearly the tactical foundation upon which they were able to build this incredible World Cup run. Morocco's journey came to an end in the semi-finals against 2018 winners France. In the lead up to the game, however, there was absolutely no sense that this was a step too far. No argument that luck had taken them a step too far in the tournament. Morocco arrived in the Final Four with as impressive a run as any side, arguably the best when you look at the big European names that they knocked out on the way. On the day against France, they had their chances too. With the rub of the green, they might have been facing Lionel Messi and Argentina in a World Cup final. What a story that would have been. An early goal for France, however, was the killer blow. The Atlas Lions stuck to their game plan and didn't seem to lose any enthusiasm though. Hugo Lloris made some brilliant saves for France in a game that had great chances for both teams. In the end, a split second of Kylian Mbappe brilliance led to a fortunate deflection and the game was done. 2-0 thanks to a tap-in at the back post. Gutted, the Moroccan team and coaching staff came together on the pitch to appreciate the incredible fans they had backing them throughout the tournament. Morocco should take a lot of pride in their historic campaign. As individuals, their players have probably all added zeros onto their market value, and as a collective, they will have inspired a new generation of Africans to keep working towards global success. With an average age of just 26, we hope this isn't just a flash in the pan for Morocco, and their success continues in the future. They have brought noise and colour to the stands of Qatar and grit and flair to the pitch. They have represented the Arab and African people with style and grace, and we hope that they have blazed a trail for future generations to create similar stories. Are Morocco your favourite dark horses of all time? Can you believe they saw off Spain and Portugal to reach the semi-finals? So who will be the next Morocco in 2026? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.